Salem, Massachusetts is infamous for its dark past, maybe nothing more so than the witch trials in 1692. Where over 150 people were imprisoned, one who was a girl who was only 4 years old. In total 20 people were put to death for witchcraft, 5 men and 15 women, all were hanged but one, a woman who was crushed to death by having stones piled on her. Contrary to legend, none were burned at the stake. That single event appears to have sparked a frenzy of paranormal activity in the town. No place in Salem is said to be more haunted than the Turner Ingersoll house, also known as the House of the Seven Gables. With its Gothic cross gables, and dark wood clapboards, and over 350 years of history, it is eerily a perfect place for spirits to dwell. The House of Seven Gables, built in 1668 for Captain John Turner, is a colonial mansion in Salem, that remained in the Turner family for 3 generations. The House of the Seven Gables, also formerly known as the Turner House, gained its current name from writer Nathaniel Hawthorne's novel of the same name. The house began as a small charming residence. It was gradually expanded over time to form the mansion that it is today. It had 7 sharply peaked gables that faced different directions on the compass. And in the center, a massive cluster of chimneys. John Turner's business success enabled him to do so, with the town becoming the economic epicenter in Puritan New England. At the time, he was the patriarch of one of New England's most prosperous maritime families, with trade, fishing, and mercantile firms, causing a surge in the local economy. John Turner died at sea in 1742, and at the time of his death, he was one of the wealthiest people in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. His son, John Turner II, inherited 6 Bay Area residences, 200 acres of land, and a few ships docked in Salem's harbor. His widowed wife remarried to Charles Redford, another sea captain. Captain Redford ensured in his will that the mansion would pass to his new stepchildren, knowing that his fate would most likely be met at sea. That's exactly what happened, and Captain Redford's newly purchased mansion was quickly passed on to the Turner children. Following his death, the house proceeded to grow in prominence, and it became a major part of the Salem witch trials lore. It took little more than a casual accusation to put someone on trial. John Turner Jr. was well aware of this, and felt compelled to defend his sisters throughout this tumultuous period. John built a concealed staircase along the fireplace in the Turner estate, knowing that children as young as 4 were being charged, and faced the possibility of execution. After 3 generations of Turners enjoying the mansion, it was eventually sold to Captain Samuel Ingersoll, after the last of the Turners died without heirs. But Samuel Ingersoll had plans to make the home even more extravagant. He took down 4 of the famous gables, and replaced them with ornate Victorian features. The Turner house was then renamed the Turner Ingersoll Mansion. Samuel's daughter frequently invited her cousin Nathaniel Hawthorne, during the Ingersoll era. Hawthorne would frequently pay Susanna Ingersoll visits at the estate. He'd take notes on the house's design, which would later inspire him to create the now famous novel, The House with the Seven Gables. The name stuck, and the Turner Ingersoll Mansion was dubbed the House of the Seven Gables from then on. Susanna's adopted son inherited the house after she died, but he fell into financial difficulties, and had to sell it in 1879. It was mostly deserted for years, but it was occupied again in 1883. It needed a lot of repairs, and extensive renovations. It was on the verge of being demolished, but Henry Upton saved it by stabilizing it and repairing it. It was the house of the Upton family after that, which they made it their home. Caroline Emerton, a philanthropist and preservationist with a huge heart, bought the house in 1908, with big ambitions to repair it and use it to benefit others. The building of the mansion had been changed significantly from its initial concept 230 years after it was erected, to accommodate the demands of the generations of people who lived there. At this stage, all 7 gables had vanished, as had some of Captain John Turner's improvements. Caroline Emerton founded the House of the Seven Gables Settlement Association in 1910 after purchasing the house. To conserve the house for future generations, give educational opportunities for visitors, and use the proceeds from the tours to fund her settlement projects. Hawthorne's Curse. The Turner and Ingersoll's House of the Seven Gables, according to author Rosemary Ellen Guiley of Haunted Salem, is a ghostly reminder of shipping riches gained and then squandered, a bust blamed on the curse of the witch trials of 1692. However, the Turner Ingersoll serves as a stark reminder of Nathaniel Hawthorne's guilt, as well as a reminder of squandered shipping riches. John Hawthorne, Hawthorne's great-grandfather, served as a judge during the 1692 Salem witch trials. Hawthorne may have faked sympathy for the suspected witches, but he never regretted his role in their trials and killings, according to evidence. And he certainly never expressed regret for sending the accused to their deaths throughout the trials. Hawthorne is claimed to have really believed in the evils of witchcraft, and considered it a serious risk to the people of Salem. Susanna, his cousin, disclosed more and more about their family's stormy past over the days he spent with her in the 1840s. She regaled him with tales of his ancestors' involvement in the trials, and other nefarious activities. Nathaniel admitted to have an interest in the Salem witch trials initially. But as he grew older and wiser, he developed a dislike for his ancestor Judge John Hawthorne, to the point that he let Susanna persuade him to modify his last name. A number of spirits have been recorded at the mansion for many years. Visitors have reported seeing the apparition of a man, scrambling up and down the famed secret staircase. Others claim to have seen a phantom boy who likes to play in the attic. His small footsteps may be heard pouncing around upstairs throughout the day, as he chuckles and laughs. According to one historian, the attic space was originally used as the property's servants' quarters. It is conceivable that the ghostly youngster is one of the employees who once resided there. One of the entities alleged to have been seen is that of Susanna Ingersoll's spirit. Her presence has been seen strolling the corridors of her former home, and even peering out the windows at visitors who enter through the garden below. The undead are frequently observed around the mansion's gables, adding to the terror. More unexplained behaviors from within the haunted manor include lights turning on and off at will, as well as water taps turning on and off on their own. Cold spots, being touched by unseen hands, hearing screams, and hearing deep growling sounds. The feeling of an unknown being in the house has been described by both museum employees and tourists. A psychic once took a tour of the house, and claimed to have seen a small child playing up near the gables, even taking a photograph of him. Many believe that the little boy is Julian, the son of Nathaniel Hawthorne. Christopher, a tourist, went to the house with his girlfriend in October 2006. They'd come too late, at 7:30 p.m., and the museum had already closed for the day. They stayed for a time nevertheless, taking pictures, and taking in the mood of the place. They returned to Salem in the early evening the next day, to ensure they didn't miss out on a tour for the second day in a row. They checked in and had no idea the place was supposed to be haunted, according to the story. Christopher noticed the clear sound of a woman's voice near to his ear, as he climbed the famed attic stairs. "Shh, shh," muttered the voice. Christopher turned to see whether his girlfriend was nearby. She wasn't. She was still standing in the middle of the stairway, apparently without saying anything. The most frequent paranormal occurrences that individuals have encountered over the years is an uncomfortable feeling in the attic. One visitor recalled a few years ago that her visit to the house of the Seven Gables began ordinarily. An unsettling sense of dread slithered through her body, but only as she mounted the steps to the attic. "I had the impression that I had to get out of the room instantly," she wrote. "Suddenly I felt sick and lightheaded, and couldn't breathe. I was unable to concentrate, and was really worried." While the menacing emotion vanished after she exited the attic, others reported feeling the same way. "I am sensitive to that sort of phenomena, and I sensed a really powerful presence inside the attic area," one anonymous visitor wrote. "I recall making a double take in the attic, toward the small window facing the shoreline for no apparent reason, but nothing was there. As we approached the dining area, I had the sensation that I was being watched. I was continuously checking behind me, but there was no one there. As we walked into the dining room, it became very cold where I was standing, and I remarked it to my family as if I were insane, and said they didn't feel anything. I had shivers as the hair on my arms stood on end. I still had the sense that someone was behind me. It has been suspected that this mansion is haunted," the tour guide said at that time. "All I needed to hear was that," I said over my shoulder, "I'm out of here," as I spun around. I had the impression that someone was watching me, as I stood outside waiting for the tour to end. It was a little unsettling. I kept staring up at the upstairs windows, and I swear I saw the curtain shift. The windows were shut, and the upper level of the house was blocked off to tours and other activities. Another visitor wrote, "There was a large attic at the top of the stairs, and it was here that something strange happened. A section of the attic was sealed off. A rocking chair and an old mattress were located within the roped enclosure. The temperature in the attic was cold, and our breaths could be seen plainly. And when the guide described the attic, a strange sensation overcame me. I shifted my eyes away from her and toward the rocking chair. I had the clear sensation that someone was sitting in it all of a sudden. When I looked down at the mattress, and the impression was even stronger, someone was lying on it, staring up at me. It gave me the feeling that it was a young boy." We left, and I honestly have no recollection of the rest of the excursion. When I saw my sister downstairs, I told her about the sensation I'd felt. She laughed, but I knew exactly how I felt. Someone, actually, 2 people, were in that attic, and they weren't human. A movie about the house was made based on the book, starring Vincent Price. It has also been the subject of several books and paranormal TV programs. You can visit the house that is now a museum, and take a tour of it. It contains more than 2,000 artifacts and objects, more than 40 framed works, 500 photographs and glass plate negatives. We'll put a link in the description below. So what do you think of the House of the Seven Gables? Let us know in the comments below, and as always please like and subscribe.